What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. We got a really exciting episode today as we got former wide receiver Stephon Lewis, Steph, but otherwise better known as Steph, I mean, to most of us. So, Steph, hope you're doing well today, my friend.
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Oh, beautiful day to be a State fan.
Yes, sir. Always.
So yeah, I mean, first of all, before we jump into it, make sure, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps support us and the channel. And please like this video and check out all of our other great NC State content, especially our things NC State fans never say. If you haven't seen the most recent Pac14 edition, make sure to go check it out. A lot of laughs there. And then lastly, just make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. So, Steph, jumping right into it. So one of the first things we always love to ask our people that we're interviewing is kind of give an update in terms of where you are right now, what are you up to these days, just kind of give an update for the fans who maybe haven't been following you much recently in terms of what you're up to right now.
Up to now, I'm back in West Palm Beach, Florida. That's where I'm originally from. In the construction industry now with my dad, so I've been doing that for about a year and some change now. So I've been able to get my roofing contractor license right now, working on my building contractor license. And nice. Eventually have my general contractor license, take over his company and, make it a little bit bigger than it is right now.
Hey.
My dad does land grading for a living. So
okay.
He's still in that construction side of things. I know Leighton's family is too, in a lot of ways renovating. So that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Been enjoying it, man. Been learning a lot. It's been very exciting.
Good. And because remind me, Steph, because what did you get your degree in?
I got it in program management.
Okay. Gotcha. So there you go. Working in the same deal. So, yeah. And I mean, definitely, have you been able to come back to Raleigh at all recently since going to Florida?
I haven't been able to get back to Raleigh yet. I've been I got back to Charlotte. I was up in Charlotte for BJ's son's birthday, BJ Hill's son's birthday. Also went and visited Pratt in Charlotte, but haven't been able to get to Raleigh. I'm hoping to get to Raleigh in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, got to catch a game, right? I mean, hey, this is
I'm trying to catch a game, man. It's been a long time. I wanted to catch a game last year, but we all know how it's been. Watched the first game. After I seen the first game, I seen the stands had people and everything. I'm like, man, I got to get back. So I want to get back as soon as possible, really.
So kind of starting off, definitely when you first came to State, you started off as a 3-star recruit, had offers from State, you had Arkansas, Florida Atlantic, Minnesota, a couple others. So first thing when I was taking a look back at your offer list, it was really all over the map. I mean, you had Minnesota,
right.
You had West Virginia, UCF, you had Arkansas, NC State. So I mean, what was kind of the recruiting process like for you? And I mean, what kind of drew you to NC State?
My recruiting process was real interesting, actually. So I was on varsity since my freshman year of high school, but I didn't play at like a really good, it wasn't like a really prestigious high school out from South Florida, but we weren't like the school that everybody was coming to see. So my freshman, sophomore year didn't really get much looks. I was playing well, started, was a captain since my freshman year, into my junior year. Started to get a little notice from 1AA schools, and going into my senior year, I went to a few camps, did well. My senior year is when I really met like Sean Boone, and Sean Boone was on a really stacked team at Dwyer. They were down the street from me. So started going to camps, being at the same camps as them, getting those type of looks. They had a guy, Johnny Dixon, who was 5-star, rivals, everything. He was all everything. So, got to compete and show that I was just as talented as those guys, and we played against each other. I think my senior year we might have went 5-5, so it wasn't a great season, but I was in the top for receiving yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns in my county, and it just blew up. It really just blew up. So started getting a lot of big schools. NC State was actually one of the first big schools to offer me. They came down. I don't know if y'all remember Jimmy Sutton. He's from South Florida, so I guess he was down for a game and kind of seen me, and he went back to NC State and told him about me. And after that, I got to talk to Coach Doran and meet the staff, and they started recruiting me hard. One of the things that I really liked about them is they stuck with me throughout my whole senior year. You know, we were losing games, everything, but one of the things is they stuck with me and they were loyal to me, and I told them I was going to be loyal to them. I really enjoyed my visit when I went up there. And that was the only official visit that I took, man. I enjoyed it that much. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready. I told my family as soon as I got back, I'm going to NC State. And I ended up enrolling early. And I feel like it was the best decision I ever made, really.
Yeah, no kidding. And definitely it's funny because I actually was looking back and basically it looked like basically Richard McNutt was one of your main recruiters who was a former cornerback coach at the time. But obviously you were part of the famous Pac14 class. I think that most would say was if not the most talented, the most game-changing recruiting class that State's had in quite some time, for sure. I mean, with names like Bradley Chubb, BJ Hill, even bringing guys like Jalen Samuels, you name it. A lot of
Hines.
Well, no, Naeem Hines was Pac-15.
Oh, 15?
He was 15.
Yeah, with Reggie Gillespie.
He was the year after me.
And those other guys.
Okay, my bad.
You're good. Do you even follow state making? Come on now.
I
know. No. Wanted to kind of ask you, I mean, can you kind of I guess elaborate a little bit in terms of, I mean, did you talk to some other players from Pac-14? I mean, did you guys talk when you guys were committed about, I mean, having such a big impact as you did, even with Tyler Jones, even as well. That's another name just came in my head as well.
For sure. What's interesting is I was one of the last guys to commit. I was one of the last guys on board. So they had a recruiting trip with all the committed guys. So that was Chubb and all the guys, Jermaine Pratt, BJ Hill, Bo Hines, all of them were together. And I didn't make my decision yet, just being wanting to be I want to make my decision after the season. But they all knew each other. The only person I knew in that recruiting class was Sean Boone, and Sean Boone actually wasn't committed yet. I was already at school when Sean Boone committed, so he was the only one that I knew of. But when I got there and I met everybody, it felt like I knew them for years.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So go ahead. What were you saying?
Nah, so it was even though I didn't, the only person Sean Boone, and then me and Bo Hines started talking a little bit after. I want to say right before I committed, that's when I met Bo Hines. So Sean Boone and Bo Hines were the only ones that I really spoke to.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to go back and look it up, man. After I made that blunder on Naeem Hines, I thought you said mentioned Pratt, Tony Adams, Tyler Jones, Arius Moore, which I think was the guy that came in related. I think he was a blue shirt.
Yeah, he was. I want to say Arius got there when we started camp.
Yeah, and then I remember everybody's talking about the position players, but AJ Cole was part of that class, and he's still playing in the NFLs too. So that was a big class, man. And so when I look back on it, though, you had it seems like your breakout season was your redshirt sophomore season. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You want to talk about what that was like when you hit that season?
That season right there, man. Leighton knows what went into that season. Leighton was there with me every day, catching balls in that off season because I played my true freshman year, and then going into my true sophomore year, I had a shoulder injury during spring ball. So I hurt my left shoulder, went through all the rehab. As I was rehabbing, I hurt my right shoulder. So then had back-to-back shoulder injuries, back-to-back shoulder surgeries. had the red shirt that year. And it was crazy because we got a new coach in the process of it. George McDonald came. So there was a lot of, for me, I was like, you know what? I've been doubted before. I'm not in a position right now where he even knows what I've done because I didn't have a crazy freshman year, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work, and I'm going to work and show what I'm capable of doing. And like I said, Leighton was one of those guys, and this is no joke. We were out there, used to be catching balls off the jugs for hours, be doing everything. And, that year, I felt like all my work, it showed everything. And it was a great feeling just because I was out for so long, just putting in that work, coming back. When I got to the ECU game, I got hit real hard. So I had a little bit, because I had a lot of doubt going into that season, a little bit just about my shoulders, how stable they're going to be. I took that hit. ECU, dude, didn't knock me out, didn't kill me. So I got back up. After that, it was over with. I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, I remember that. So I was looking back, man. Do you remember what your accolades were that season? It's pretty impressive.
I don't, man. I don't remember.
Right, I'm gonna read them to you.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna read them to you. Well, so like here. So you were the first NC State player since Jericho Cottrell in 2003 to post 3 100-plus yard receiving games in one season.
Hey, man.
That's one thing.
It's a big
So
name.
you had that. So you ranked at the end of the season. You ranked 3rd in the ACC and 13th in FBS college football in yards per catch average. You had 19.4 essentially yards per catch. That is 9th in school history.
Hey.
Do you? I mean, you were talking about a breakout season. That's a breakout season, man.
Nah, it was great, man. I really enjoyed that season. Honestly, it was a great season. I was happy to be back, man. I was really happy to be back.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, definitely one of the things I did want to ask you, though, is so obviously when you first came on, your wide receivers coach was Frisman Jackson, who, obviously left and then went to George McDonald. So what was that kind of transition like? Because I know, especially from my time being there, that I feel like the coaching styles were very different. I feel like that Frisman was more outspoken. Not saying that Coach McDonald wasn't talkative, but I feel like Frisman was more loud and Coach McDonald was more, come on now. So, but I mean, even in terms of what they would preach on, I felt like was very different as well. So, I mean, can you kind of speak to kind of what was the transition process like from Coach Jackson to Coach McDonald?
So it was interesting for me because Coach Jackson was kind of the guy who was at my high school every other week, coming to talk to me, helping me with my ACT, SAT, everything, like basically getting me ready to go to college. And then when I got there, football-wise, there were guys who were older. So you had the Brian Underwoods, Marquez Valdez, Jermichael Ramos. They were already kind of in place with Frisman because they played for that previous season. So, I didn't really get as much time with one-on-one time with him as I did with Coach McDonald. The difference was like that relationship that I have. Like me and Coach McDonald still speak to this day. He's like a father figure to me. So, Coach McDonald, I feel like the biggest difference was the relationship that we had. It's a lot bigger than football for him. And that's with every player that he has. You can ask Kelvin, Jacoby. We're still in a group text with him. He still reaches out. He still tells those guys good luck on their games. He always checks up to see how we're doing. That's one of the things about him is it's easy to play for a guy like that just because you don't feel like you're playing for a coach. You feel like you're playing for like your dad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you never want to disappoint you there. And there was times where he gets hard on us, but you understand it because he wants the best for you. Not saying that Frisman did it, but I just didn't have that same relationship with Frisman.
Yeah, boy. And you kind of mentioned it though about Kelvin and Jacoby yourself. So I want to kind of touch on that a little bit. So I mean, first of all, I mean, one of the big pieces of news right now is Jacoby is playing for the Patriots and definitely seems to be the wide receiver one right now for the Patriots, which is awesome.
Yeah,
and
I'm happy for him, man.
Yeah, and then Kelvin unfortunately got let go from the Washington football team, but I feel like that was more just with the injuries necessarily than that they weren't happy really with anything. So
sure.
Want to kind of ask first, kind of like a side note, have you heard anything from Kelvin in terms of, I mean, is there anybody talking to him right now at all?
Oh, I talk to Kelvin all the time. So Kelvin's one of those guys. Kelvin's like my little brother. So me and Kelvin speak all the time. So, you know, right now he's just being patient. I know he's been in contact with a few teams. I'm not really sure which teams they are, but, you know, he's doing his thing. He's just working every day. That's one thing about that kid. He's going to work, man. He works very hard, and he has a lot of faith, and he's very patient. So he's in good spirits. He's getting ready for whatever comes. And one thing that we always talk about him, man, you just stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Whoever it is, wherever it is, just be ready because you know you got to play. Yeah.
Well, and you know, because one thing too that especially stands out to me when I kind of think back about that trio, because I know heading into y'all senior season that was like the highlight between you, Jacoby, and Kelvin in terms of, I mean, what a wide receiver trio that was. And I felt like that each of you were very different. You know, Kelvin was more of the, you know, high point guy. Jacoby was more of the quick guy, and you were more of the all around wide receiver, the playmaker. And so, but it's funny how the fact that, I mean, you were recruited as a 3-star wide receiver. Kelvin was a 4-star wide receiver. Jacoby was recruited as like a 2 or 3-star quarterback. And and yet, I mean, you know, right now, I mean, you know, Jacoby's, I mean, killing it in the NFL. He killed it in college, and he's killing it in the NFL so far.
That's one thing about Jacoby. He's a dog, and Jacoby he's one of those guys who has this mindset of like he's the best. Like he got in the receiver room and told us like he's the best. And you know what I'm saying? Like he's coming from the quarterback room. You're like, sit down, be patient.
Yeah.
But what he did was, it was very impressive, man, for him to, I remember, I want to say he got like some record, like Torrey Holt's record. I don't remember what record it was, but
it was receptions.
Correct.
Receptions.
So for him to come in and do that, and just remembering like how he used to like speak of himself, even when he had a bad practice, he'd be like, "Nah, that's just a bad practice. That's not me," you know. Yeah, but that's the type of guy he is, and that's what you need.
Yeah. So when did you know with him, like, this guy's got it? Like, I mean, he's obviously an athlete, and he played quarterback. When you mentioned he came in, he was kind of strutting his stuff, kind of like, "Oh, I'm the guy in here now." When did you like know, like, okay, this is for real? Like, he's legit good.
Nah, Jacoby is.
Would he like, as a QB, would he like talk smack to the other receivers, like, I could play the position better than y'all or something like that? Or?
Oh, of course. From the day he came in there, you know, he's a competitor, man. So he would want to race people. He would always like, he's a competitor. So it never really mattered to him what position, and it doesn't matter what sport either. Because if you ask him, he's the best player at any sport. Baseball. I remember we had a conversation in the weight room after like catching off the jugs. He was like, he's better than us in every sport. And I remember, I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. But that's
so was there? Yeah, but was there like a moment with him that you're like, or maybe a few moments, like at a certain point, was it like going into his first season playing receiver? Yeah, or playing that, like, man, wow, like this is a whole different league.
Play, I would say the play where I knew Jacoby was like special.
Like, you look back on, you're like, that was something that stood out to me.
It had to be his second year. I want to say it was against Syracuse. I remember he went up and just snagged the ball off of the dude's helmet. Like, it was crazy. Like, it wasn't like, you would have to be in the film room to really see how impressive it was. Like, it might have seemed like a simple play, but like, if you seen how strong his hands were pulling the ball off the dude's helmet, you'd be like, okay. That's when I was like,
I'll go find that clip then.
He's a real deal receiver, like real deal. And he made so many great plays, man. It's not one that stands out. I know when we were in practice, he was catching them one-handed, and you're like, this dude was a quarterback. He was special, man. He's real special.
Dude was a beast. I mean, that Carolina catch in 2017, 2018, 2018
catch he's had.
Clutch.
Yeah, no kidding.
That dude is special, man, and he's still making these type of plays right now. So I'm never surprised when I see the plays that he's making. I'm never surprised because that's just how he plays, man. That's who he is.
I always see I watch these videos from a fantasy standpoint, and they're like, dude, Jacoby Myers is the guy in the late rounds to buy. You better pick him because he's going to be on some championship teams at the end of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I just had a couple more questions here. I think you touched on this little bit earlier. Who would you say was the most influential coach on your game? Either high school or at state?
Ooh. I mean, it would have to be two. That was a great question, actually. It would be two coaches. I would say in high school, it would be my head coach, Willie Snead. And, I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of Willie Snead Jr. He's a receiver. Yeah, so he played for the Saints for a while. He played for the Ravens. I think he's out in L.A. now. He's with the Raiders. Or in Vegas now with the Raiders. But Coach Snead he played professional and he played in college. So he was the one that really taught me the wide receiver position. So all throughout high school, I was just an athlete, just playing quarterback, running back. It didn't matter. Wherever, however you give me the ball, you're going to get it to me. But he was the one that really came in my junior year that really took the time to show me how to play receiver and show me all the fundamentals. But the person who took it to the next level was Coach McDonald. He's one of those guys who is going to wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, make a whole bunch of cut-ups just so he can have the cut-ups of the player that you're most like. And he wants you to watch that. And then what he does after that is, okay, on a Saturday morning or on a Sunday morning, I'll meet you in the indoor. We're going to go through these drills. And it wasn't just for me. He was doing that for all the players. And like I said, that's why I felt like that was the difference between him and my other coach. But, yeah, Coach McDonald and Coach Snead were the most influential coaches of my football career, for sure.
Two pretty good coaches right there.
Mm-hmm. And then one of the things, I know we're kind of cutting close on time here, but really one of the biggest things which I really wanted to ask you, I know we didn't really kind of get a chance to really touch on it much, but you got signed by the Texans as a free agent coming out of state. Mm-hmm. And so I know I remember the story slightly, but I know you had the opportunity to meet DeAndre Hopkins. So I really want to kind of hear your story of, like, because I mean, I'm sure for you, if DeAndre Hopkins was not your, the star that you were like, or the idol that you look to meet, he's got to be up there in terms of, like, I mean, that was pretty cool to meet DeAndre Hopkins.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is more like, holy crap, that's Steph Lewis over there, man. He's like, dude, is that Steph? That's got to be him. That's got to be Steph Lewis.
He did know about me. He didn't know the name, but he remembered the receivers from NC State, though.
And that's all you need to know, man. That's all. That's how the story goes. He knew who I was.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. But man, Hopkins was amazing. He's amazing. Like, he was like a big brother. Like, while we were out there, so down to earth, man. Honestly, all the stars on that team were really down to earth. Him, JJ Watt, those guys. But Hopkins was an amazing athlete. There's some plays that I'm telling you, man. I've played with great athletes, but I've never seen a guy go out there and really just do whatever he wanted and get away with anything. I remember we did a joint practice against Detroit Lions, and they had a really good corner, Darius Slay. I don't know if y'all heard. Mm-hmm. He was good, very good corner. This is no joke. You can ask anybody who was in that receiver room. This man, DeAndre Hopkins, at the end of the meeting told Coach, hey, this whole practice, I'm just catching with my right hand. And we're all just sitting there like, I'm like laughing like, man, I'm like, there's no way. He went out there and really only caught with one hand the whole day. 1-on-1s, team, 7-on-7 all day. And really had his way the whole day. I don't think there was any drops.
Dude, that sounds like you. So there's an old Larry Bird story. There's a Larry Bird game from the NBA when he played with the Celtics where he just went out one game. He said, I'm just going to play shoot left-handed the whole game and shot left-handed the whole game. Just because he was like, I don't know if it was boredom or what, but it was like, I'm just going to do it because it's easy for him. And for like the guy like that, was just, I'm going to go out, catch right-handed all day.
Why not?
His hands are huge.
That's insane.
His hand, because I got a pretty big hand. His hand, he was wearing a double XL glove, and that's custom made, or I don't know, but his hands were really big.
Yeah. Well, and And I mean, again, that's why I really wanted to highlight, because I know that was a cool story from the moments when you were still with them. But so thank you all so much again for tuning in. Make sure to tune in on Thursday as we continue this conversation and dive more into NC State football directly this year. And I know Steph has got some tie-ins with Thayer and Emeka and all them, so definitely make sure to tune in to listen in on all the insight. And thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, go Pack, y'all.